Show. Coming up in just a couple of weeks. I can't believe we're almost there. Supercross is getting ready to be at the Dome of America Center. That name changes so many darn times. Bubba, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. We're actually down here in Birmingham, Alabama, getting ready for the race tomorrow. So a couple more weeks, we'll be the hometown in St. Louis.
Fantastic. And you take me through the circuit. I've always found that fascinating because it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint, correct?
Yeah, we race 31 races, and the Super Motocross World Championship starts in January, ends in September. So it's a busy year every year.
Well, and if you could, for our audience, you're from Edwardsville, correct?
Yeah, born and raised.
And take me through your background a little bit, within the sport, and then now where you're at in your career.
I started riding when I was 10 years old. I went to the St. Louis Supercross. At the time, I think was the Edward Jones Dome, maybe the TWA Center. I'm not sure. Back a couple generations ago, though. And I was eight years old, I think. I went with a neighbor, and, man, I love Supercross. I'm like, I want to do that, even before I had a dirt bike. And I got a dirt bike for my 10th birthday. And I was no good for a long time and slowly progressed. And, ended up with a vision, a dream, and a lot of determination, made my way to the professional level. I raced professional for 13 seasons. I just retired in 2025 from professional racing, but I currently own the ISRT Kawasaki race team. So I started that in 2017 throughout my professional career. So I have a full staff of mechanics, crew members, full-time riders, international riders as well. So, in Edwardsville, we got a shop and a track over there. And so guys from all over the world coming in for the Super Motocross, training and competing and working out of Edwardsville. It's a small world. That's
fantastic. I never even realized that. Well, and I just think it's so unique that, not even just with Super, but there's so many aspects of, someone like yourself that's able to, accomplish and then bring in, those connecting pieces right here to the Metro East. And, when you're traveling now and your position, what's the most satisfying part of the stops along the way? When you're in this, kind of administrator role now, what's your favorite part of the journey?
To be honest, there's a lot, but helping others and serving others is big for me. We got athletes from all over the world, top talent athletes. When you're bringing them in, giving them structure and a work environment that they can achieve their goals and have career best results, that's the most gratifying thing that you could possibly do in this sport. So, doing that, like I said, helping others. The crew members that we have three of our crew members are local from the St. Louis area, and giving them an opportunity to not have to travel. They travel every week, but, for the home base to be local for them is a really cool opportunity as well.
Well, and, it kind of takes me into this because just hearing a couple of minutes of the conversation, you go to an event and you're hook, line, and sinkered in. Is that what, to me is the takeaway from so many individuals that are younger and, go to that first event? It really does pull so many people in for life, whether it's from a fan's perspective or someone who, wants to participate and live that dream. Is that still the atmosphere that fans and families can take away from it whenever they go by April the 4th?
100%. We deal with that with even bringing in new sponsors for the team. Nice. You try to sell something to somebody, hey, be a part of our program, be a part of our journey, and, advertise for your brand and give it this awesome platform. When you get somebody at the event, it all changes.
That's the sell.
You got to be there and experience it. And it's like, oh, wow, I'm sold on this. This is an amazing sport, amazing group of young men and people that are a part of this. So, yeah, experiencing it live is just, no matter where you're at in life, no matter what your role is, it's quite the experience.
And for somebody who's never been to an event around, this type of atmosphere, what can fans expect?
A lot of energy, a long day when you include the Fan Fest. So Fan Fest will start around 11 a.m. and that goes till 5, and then the show starts at 5:30. So it's you don't have to go there for the whole thing, but if you want the full experience, Fan Fest, watch the qualifying, meet all the riders, get the autographs, go in the stadium at 5:30. The fireworks, opening ceremonies are just electric. And St. Louis is actually our St. Jude themed race, so all the riders will have special themed gear for a St. Jude fundraiser that we do every year. So it's a really unique one-off type of event for us, and then all that stuff gets auctioned off as well. well. So it's a really cool experience. It's awesome that race is the St. Louis round, which is my hometown race. So I love racing and being a part of the hometown experience, and also for a good cause.
Well, and take me through just that aspect of the community around Supercross and the event, because it seems like everyone's competing and everyone's on that course, but also it just seems like the community around it between teams is really strong, and you see that during those interactions before the start of those actual events.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was younger, with everything, I thought the world is so big. I've traveled the world and raced all over the world, and it's like, man, it's not as big as you used to think until you start living it. And our industry is the same way. There's a lot of the mechanics and riders, they have different contracts in different years with different teams. It's really like a family atmosphere, and the local motocross crowd is the same thing. It's just a giant family. So the kind of the brotherhood and just the integrity behind the sport and all the people involved is really cool. At the end of the day, we're all here for the love of the sport and enjoying it, going out competing, and being positive representatives for our community as well.
Absolutely. Take me back to, as you're growing up around the area, you're preparing for all this and you're training. Is there one course that you utilize the most, or one area that you utilize the most as you were preparing for races and just kind of refining the skills on the bike?
Growing up, probably Archview MX, which is just east of downtown. It's, you can see the arch from the track. So I was actually there watching a friend of mine, two little buddies of mine, Dean and Easton. It was their first motocross race out there last weekend, which is our only weekend off of the series, and I went out to Archview and watched the races there. So that was cool. They actually have a practice the day after St. Louis Supercross, which is cool. So all the riders can go get hyped up watching the Supercross and then go out on the track and practice themselves. So it's cool to have little tracks close by our home base and the Supercross race as well.
Now that you're in this position now, do you ever see riders do things that you used to do yourself, like is it pre race or pre-event rituals, or getting kind of just focused in that you go, did I really do those things? Has that ever happened? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Oh yeah, every day I'm still seeing things. I'm like, why did I do that? You just get in the zone. It's like we're professional athletes, and
right.
You get your habits and your little rituals, and at the end of the day, did it really make any difference? But hey, you want the guy to be confident. So whatever they got to do to be confident to go out there and compete at their top level, they got to do it.
And now take me through the team right now for you. How are things looking?
Pretty good. We're currently sitting 18th overall in the Premier Class Championship. So that's we'd like to be inside the top 15 with our top rider Vince Freezy. He's based out of Cape Girardeau, Missouri, so this will actually be his hometown race as well. Vince is a veteran in our sport, and he's had some really good results through his career. So it's our first year working with him. So last weekend in Indianapolis, we were 13th overall in the night. So looking to just kind of creep up in the results and creep up in the overall championship standings. We have Noah Viney, who's a Canadian-based rider, currently lives in Southern California, but he's a rookie on the East Coast here, so we're bringing him in through the 250 class, and that's a learning experience for us and for him. So, we got a veteran that's, experienced it all, and then we got a rookie that's coming in with just gaining all the experience. So it's really cool with the camaraderie and seeing those guys work together, and then obviously as a team, we're all learning every day with all of it. And then we have another international rider, Cornelius Tondel. He's based out of Norway. He'll start racing in the coming weeks. He's coming off an injury, so he's still kind of preparing and recovering, but very, very fast talent out of Europe. Not
to cut you off, man. I'm not too familiar with the sport. Is international, has that always been very affluent for your Supercross, or is that starting to develop more and more?
The pinnacle of our sport is here in the U.S. So all the the riders from all over the world look to come here, to compete with the best. But it's definitely grown. There's more and more international athletes competing at the top level in our sport. Right now our current Premier Class points leader is from Australia.
Wow.
And he's a very, very good rider. So, but yeah, every corner of the globe, there's athletes coming and seeking to race here. And I've also been to all corners of the world to race as well. So,
right.
It's a culture. Melting pot.
This is so cool, man. And as you're going into the event at America Center here, Has there been, any game plan? Do you guys have, different strategies for different courses? I'm sure everything's different whenever you go to different towns and you take into all the different, courses and all the different atmospheres too that you're in. Take me through that. What's the breakdown look like? I know you can't give us your secrets, but is there, some strategy that goes into this?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is the dirt. The dirt is different every stadium we go to. Typically it's similar to what you would see in your backyard, right? So in St. Louis, I would say we have an advantage with, that hometown dirt. Our test track in Edwardsville, the dirt is very similar to what we're going to be racing on in the dome. One thing at the dome, with being a closed roof, we won't have the weather to deal with. Here in Birmingham, it's open air stadium. Fortunately, we have, mid 80s, sunny, dry conditions. So we're not going to have any weather to deal with, but it's common that we do have weather to deal with in different venues. And, whether it's cold, extremely warm, we have to tune the bikes to it. The riders and the crew, they have to be able to adapt to all those, every little, at our level, all the little bitty things all add up to give you the recipe you need to go out and compete at your best. So, yeah, between the dirt, the course layout, the weather, we're racing 31 weeks a year. So you're bound to have sickness and, all sorts of different things. There's a lot of issues that come in over the course of a year racing as much as we are.
Well, and that's what I was kind of curious about, because I would assume, the day of things, things happen at an event or, it take you out of commission. Have there been some of those nuances or some things that you've learned along the way that you've never thought, in this position you'd have to deal with, like, getting sick or dealing with, life happening? Have there been those moments yet that you're like, wow, add this one to the ownership bingo card here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's so many different things that we have to deal with. I mean, whether it's a rider, mechanics, loses a family member, and
oh yeah,
got to go out and, still do their job. And, obviously we give them, the free will to go out and, hey, if they want to sit out today, they can sit out, like we're not going to hold anybody down for that. But still, injury, sickness, anything and everything. Sometimes there's family, girlfriend, wife, drama, and it's life. So, we all got to stick together and have each other's back. And, we're a group of men out there competing at the highest level in our sport. So yeah, there's a lot of accountability there, a lot of brotherhood and camaraderie. You got to grab the guy by the shoulder sometimes and say, hey, get your head back in the game. We're in this, Well, and that's what it kind of leads me to, when it comes to, MADD Parts Kawasaki, the race team, is it coordinating transport? Is it doing all of that stuff that's kind of the overtaking of the day, or is it getting into the day of stuff and the in the dirt, strategies that, take up most of your day now? I'm just curious about that. Yeah, so logistically, we've had a nightmare lately. The last month.
I'm not laughing. I shouldn't laugh. I don't laugh at you. I'm laughing with you in a way.
No, it's been tough. Our team hauler's been down in El Paso, Texas, which is a nice 18-hour drive from St. Louis. So,
wow.
Yeah, we've had to work around that, which has been very, very, very challenging. We can't really plan too far ahead because we don't know when that's going to be back and going. It's been the dealership that it's at. They've been working on it, and one issue after another. We have an electrical issue with a big hauler. It's can take some time and a lot of money to fix it, unfortunately. So our weekend off, last weekend, I actually flew to El Paso, rented a box van, unloaded everything out of our hauler and drove it back to St. Louis on our weekend off. So my weekend was not off.
Wow.
But that's been tough because we were going from Houston to Phoenix. The hauler broke down in El Paso, which was about the halfway point. And then the next week we went to Seattle. Then we came to Dallas, and then Daytona, Indianapolis. Now we're in Birmingham. So a lot of races, zigzagging across the country. Doing one of those trips is challenging enough for most people. So imagine dragging 10 adults and, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment all over the country. Some flying, some driving, and just, it's very challenging. Unfortunately, I'm the guy at the top when I have to deal with and manage all that.
Man,
I'm collecting my points or something.
That's for sure. Well, best of luck with seriously, the logistical issue. I hope it all works out and do mean that. And before we wrap up here, I got to ask you, when someone's coming to town for the St. Louis show, is there one local spot that you're like, you guys got to try?
Ah, I personally, I just like hometown kind of hole in the wall restaurants.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you're gonna go eat something in St. Louis, like, maybe go down to Soulard. There's some restaurants down there that, you just that aren't everywhere. So we travel all over the place. If I can hit local restaurants anywhere I can, I do. I don't like going to franchise places, but yeah, as far as outside of eating, I encourage all my guys go experience the City Museum at least one
Oh
time.
yeah, for sure.
Most people think City Museum, I don't want to go there, and they go there. And I had the best time ever. So, so that's something that's very unique for St. Louis. That is super cool. Of course, you got the Arch. So yeah, I think the City Museum is cooler than the Arch, though.
Oh, fantastic. 1,000%. And now, before I let you go, what's the best way to get tickets and to support you guys even after the show on April the 4th in St. Louis?
Yeah, so supercrosslive.com. You can get all the tickets and info there. Our team, sxraceteam.com is our team website. So we try to keep updated on that. We got some merchandise and stuff on there as well. So all those, every t-shirt that we sell goes towards, keeping us going racing. And, we got a lot of our sponsor and supporter information on there as well. So, yeah, takes a lot to do what we do. And, every little bit helps. So, but we're happy to do it. Even all the troubles that we've had this year, we're still out here, and it's a good thing we're racing motorcycles and not semi trucks, because if we were racing semi trucks, we'd be in trouble right now.
Yeah. Bubba, man, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We'll link everything in a write-up on RiverBender.com. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back with more breaking news out of East Alton. You guys stay there, and we'll be here at RiverBender.com and Roku TV.